Okay, let's go make our Sunday supper half square triangle quilt block. But first, always remember to share this so it will save to your profile and you can find it when you're looking for it again later. We're gonna do this Sunday supper quilt block. Looks really complicated, doesn't it? It's not though, it's so easy, so easy, like SEW easy. Now, our instructions tell us that for a finished size of 18 by 18, which is what we want, the appliques that I create are 18 inches by 18 inches, so the blocks that I give my students to sew are also 18 inches by 18 inches. This is what we're looking for. It says to cut our squares 5 3/8, which is what we did, 5 3/8, and then we cut them diagonally to make a half square triangle. Now, I know that I needed 16 squares because that's how many squares are in our block up here. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I needed 8 colors and 8 solids, and that's what I have. The first thing I'm gonna do is sew my pieces together. I'm gonna pick up one solid and one color. I'm calling it a solid, but it's just really pretty blue. And one color, and I'm gonna lay them pretty side to pretty side. And I'm gonna sew right here. 1/4 inch seam, back stitching when I start and when I stop because my grandma said so. And I'm going to chain piece these. Now, I'm gonna back stitch even though I'm chain piecing. Lots of people don't. And listen, it works for them. It has to, or they wouldn't do it. But my grandmother terrified me. So if you're asking me, yes, I'm back stitching at the beginning and the end, even when I'm chain piecing. I'm going to sew all of my, what I'm calling solids, these blues, to all of my colors. So I'm gonna sew all of these to all of these.
Yes, I made up my own quilt block names because if you've been quilting for very long, you know that a whole bunch of blocks go by a whole bunch of different names. So I decided to have a little fun with it. Mine are all a little southern, but if you want to name yours something else, that's what I want you to do. Call them whatever you want to call them. I want you to take this quilting experience and make it your own. Nobody's the boss of you. There's a new quilt block cheat sheet printable that posts every Friday on my Facebook page. There's a link on that post that takes you to the free printable library. So be sure you go through those steps so you can download all of the free printables. And I'm going to teach you how to make them, every single one at a time, right here. And I'm going to make it super simple. If you've ever wanted to piece a quilt block, but you've been intimidated by all the pieces, I got you. We're going to do this and we're going to do it together. And when I started, I did exactly what I do for my beginners. I sewed with big pieces, things I could or would actually finish. And that's what I'm going to encourage you to do.
This is my ironing situation, heat resistant pad, wool mat, both linked in my Walmart storefront, and this is my Oliso iron that Missouri Star Quilt Company sent me, and it's incredible. It is like halfway between a mini iron and a big iron, and I'm way into it. It's heavy, it gets hot, easy to transport, and y'all, look at this. It's like a pet carrier for my iron. Ha! How cute is that? Okay, so I'm not ironing my seams open or even to one side. I'm just ironing them flat. I think they're naturally going to one side currently, but you just want your pieces to be reasonably flat. And if ironing is not your thing, just do the best you can. If you iron them, it will make your project look nicer, but if you're not ironing, there will be no judgment from over here. Because you know what? I did a whole lot of sewing before I ever started ironing while I sewed. So, I'm not judging anybody out there. And y'all know, I have told this story 100 times and I will tell it 1,000 more. I teach beginners how to sew, and I have a student who's been with me since I started teaching in 2018. She still sews with me currently. And she'd been to a bunch of classes and she picked it up really fast, fell in love with it, was making all the projects, and she said, "Hammy, what if I don't own an iron?" And I was like, "Ashley, do you really not own an iron?" And she said, "No, I don't own an iron." And I said, "Well, maybe we should think about getting one." Well, she comes back to the next class and her pieces are beautifully flat. And I said, "Ashley, did we get an iron?" She said, "Nope, I used my flat iron." I said, "You know what? That's the way to problem solve right there, sister." It was impressive. It was impressive to me then, and it's still impressive to me now, although now she does own an official iron. After we iron our pieces flat, then we're going to arrange them like we want our block to look. I don't usually square my quilt blocks up. I'm not saying that I never do. I'm just saying I don't usually do it. If something is very off, I will square it up. But generally speaking, I don't square mine up. I'm not telling you not to square yours up. If you want to, I want you to. I'm just telling you that I don't. All right, we have them all ironed. Now, we're going to get our instructions back out and see what our block is supposed to look like. and see if we can lay our pieces out to look like our instructions. And just like y'all, the hardest part for me is deciding where each fabric goes. Okay, here we go. This is what our quilt block is going to look like. Now, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use my clips at the top. Now, I've shown y'all this before. I put a clip at the top of each row, and then I fold this over like this and pick it up. And I fold it over because I know this is the top and this is the side I want to sew. And then, as I sew my pieces, when I take it from my sewing machine, the clip at the top tells me I don't need to sew to that block. I need to sew to the block on the bottom. But if you're uncomfortable with any of this, just sew them 2 pieces at a time, because I can't tell you how many full quilts I have ripped out because I thought I knew what I was doing and I didn't. So if you're unsure about it, do it whatever way you want to. Now I'm going to pick up my first 2 pieces, which are these 2, and I'm going to lay them pretty side to pretty side. I want to make sure that this seam and this seam matches. And I'm going to sew right here, straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam, back stitching when I start and when I stop, because my grandma said so. And after I've done that, I'm going to open it up and I'm going to sew this to this. I'm going to lay it down like this, sew right here. And I'm going to continue to do that until I'm finished with this row, and then I'm going to do the 2nd row, the 3rd row, and the 4th row.
A new printable cheat sheet posts on my Facebook page every Friday, and I encourage you to click the link to get the free printable because there's a ton of free printables there. Download them, print them out, and I'm going to walk you through how to make every single block one at a time. And we're going to have a whole lot of fun doing it. The cheat sheet also gives you cutting sizes to do the smaller blocks if you didn't want your blocks this big. But if you've ever been intimidated by piecing quilt blocks together, these projects are for you because they're just exactly the same, only larger. And this is how I teach my beginner students, and when I first started, this is exactly what I did. And I want to see everything you're making, so whenever you make any of these quilt blocks, I want you to be sure to email a photo to hometownquiltcompany@gmail.com for Sew and Tell, because we all want to see. Sew and Tell is our favorite. Y'all are inspiring people every single day.
We've sewn our rows, we've ironed them. Now we're going to sew our rows together. We're going to pick up one row, lay it pretty side to pretty side, and we're going to match these seams here, here, and here. Whatever you have to do, pinch it, pleat it, pull it. We want our seams to match. Now, I'm not nesting my seams, and nesting just means that when you ironed it in opposite direction, so that when you sewed it together, one seam goes this way and the other seam goes that way. I'm not into that. I mean, I'm not opposed to it if you want to do it. I just don't want to do it, so I'm not nesting mine, but I want you to nest yours if you want to. And you're going to sew this with a straight stitch and a 1/4 inch seam. I'm getting my 1/4 inch seam by following the edge of my fabric with the edge of my pressure foot. Back stitching when I start and when I stop, because my grandma said so.
And when I say pinch it, pleat it, or pull it, I mean pinch it, pleat it, or pull it. There's not some magic formula behind what I'm telling you. And my beginner students always laugh at me when I tell them that, but that's what I mean. Pinch it, pleat it, or pull it. Whatever you've got to do just to make your seams match. And I promise, the more you're sewing, the more quilts you make, the more pieced work you do, the less you're pinching, pulling, or pleating. But sometimes I'm still pinching, pulling, and pleating. And guess what? It's fine.
We've sewn it, we're going to iron it, and we're going to do our other 5. In this case, this quilt will have 6 of these and 6 applique blocks. You could do the entire quilt out of these, or you could do all applique blocks. You do whatever you like. If you've ever wanted to do some quilt piecing, but you're intimidated by the pieces, just make your pieces bigger. That's what I do. So this quilt block finishes out at 18 inches by 18 inches. You could reduce these pieces and make your quilt block smaller. Your instructions tell you what size your squares need to be to start with to get all of these different finish sizes. And if you wanted to make part patchwork and part applique, then you could take the appliques and print them at a smaller percentage to get a smaller piece. And here is our finished Sunday supper quilt block. Easy peasy. I can't wait to see the ones that you make. My name is Tammy. I'm your favorite sewing teacher, and I would love for you to come sew with me.